Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the garden. We are doing a proper January maintenance day, and there's lots of things that I can do in my garden that if you're in a zone 8 or something similar, you can probably also be doing in your garden. So we're going to start out with just like a quick hit list of things that I am looking at doing in January, and you can too. So starting from tallest things in my garden to smallest, first up, we have trees. This is a great time to get after your fruit trees. I don't have any in my garden, but if you have like an apple or a pear or a cherry, this is a great opportunity to tackle those. They love a winter prune. The next thing that is a big item that I have in my garden, oof, you guys, it's the wisteria. Side note, I only will use a wisteria for a design client if I know, number one, they have the gusto and the desire to maintain that sucker because it is time and energy, it is a lot of work. Or number two, if they've got a crew that will help with wisteria maintenance. Last year, it took me multiple days to prune my wisteria because not only do you have to cut it back to 3 buds from that main cane, but then you got to dispose of all of those long whips. And let me tell you, I think I had easily 6 bags of wisteria whips going off to the compost heap. All right, next thing, let's move down to like our shrub layer. The things in that layer that I'm gonna tackle are, I will tackle my rose pruning at this time, and gosh, now actually would be a good time. If you have any woody shrubs, you can also give them a prune at this time because you can really see the structure. The one thing I'm not going to touch in my woody shrub layer are my Hydrangea paniculatas. I save those for February in my garden. As we move down to the next layer, the things that I'm going to look at are any grasses that have collapsed. So if it's kind of like gone flat in your winter weather, that's when I say good day to you and I give it a haircut. Some grasses like my Pennisetum Carly Rose, that's kind of over on this direction, they still look gorgeous. They still have seed heads, and so I'm gonna leave them. And then moving down to kind of my next layer, I am taking care of perennials that have gone mushy or are no longer holding their winter interest, in addition to perennials that are actually starting to push out new growth. I'm gonna give you an example. The sedum that is all along the front walkway, it's already pushing out new growth. And so if I don't tackle cutting that back now, I could risk nicking some of those little sedum heads, and I don't want that to happen. The last thing I'm tackling today is removal of leaves and sticks that are all over my hard surfaces. And I know this is somewhat controversial, but I think you need to take your own temperature in terms of what you can handle in your own garden. There are some people who love to keep every single leaf on site, and there are some people who simply can't. In city gardens, we do have constraints. So I do have many clients with massive maple trees. The amount of leaves that are dropped from some of these larger trees, it's almost impossible to keep all of it on site. So I selectively keep things on site, and the rest of it I send off to the compost heap. For me, in this front garden, which is where I'm focused today, I have a birch tree that literally dumps sticks and branches all winter long. In fact, here, honestly, I'm looking down at the ground and I can't even begin to count the number of twigs and branches that I have fallen across all of my hardscaping. So I'm gonna give all of those the heave-ho today, and they are gonna go off to the compost. So I wanna give you a brief vantage point of what I'm talking about. Do you see all of these sticks, leaves everywhere, seeds gathered under every single pot? I mean, this is such a disaster, and they just blow through all winter long. And honestly, it's insane, and it's way too much to keep track of. And I simply don't even have enough space inside my garden beds to have all of these mulched down into place. I mean, look at this. It's already completely covered here. I'm not adding any more. And so for me in my garden, I'm gonna bag them up and send them on to be compost today. Now I'm giving everything kind of a scrape first because what I'm noticing is I have been neglecting this area for so long. A lot of the seed heads are sticking to the hardscaping, which is not what I want. Also, they like tend to build up around pots. And so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give everything a good scrape first, and then I'm gonna grab my leaf blower and kind of blow everything into a pile that I can then dispose of easily. You guys, I've left so many leaves still in these garden beds, and this is like my 5th bucket I have filled. It is cray cray. Anyways, I was just out here working. What's so funny is a neighbor came out and he's like, "Hey, I always see you out here filming. Do you have a blog?" You guys, I like sometimes am so sheepish about having this whole YouTube gardening channel that I forget that sometimes my friends and my neighbors don't even know that I've got this whole world, this whole group of garden friends on the internet that I hang out with 3 days a week and talk about being a gardener with. So anyways, I just thought that was funny. Also, by the way, I know that it's January, but it's such a warm January that I feel like sometimes you have to pay attention to those weather patterns as opposed to like a prescribed schedule. I know we love a schedule, we love details, but check this out. Being down here, I have shotweed coming up everywhere. Holy cow, look at this. I usually don't see this weed in January, but being down in here, oh yep, here's more. This is actually kind of a cool thing about doing a lot of garden caretaking in the middle of winter. You really see when the soil starts to warm by what weeds are popping up first. One of the things I'm really noticing about this front walkway is that, remember when I went ham and I planted hundreds of Iris reticulata and Narcissus thalia and all that kind of good stuff? Well, now they're all coming up. So I've got to be really careful when I am raking everything through. And I'm definitely also going to get after this lamb's ear because it is slimy. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to prune it back off of the hardscaping, and I'm just going to kind of rake out the top to get that crown exposed to a bit more airflow, because this definitely falls into the category of things that have gotten slimy. The next place I'm tackling is my rose border. I've got a couple things that I need to look at here. First and foremost, I need to prune back these roses. You're going to notice that I've actually cut pretty heavily on them this past growing season. And so I won't need to do too big of a prune. Generally speaking, you want to bring a rose back by, I don't know, maybe 1/3 to 1/2. And so for me, that's what I'm going to do. The only exception is my honey Dijon. That rose really struggled this past year, and so I'm gonna kind of let it be. The other thing I'm gonna take out is my Salvia Caradona. That one, I'm gonna take it all the way down because it's really lost its impact as winter interest. Okay, you guys, this is where you get down in the garden because I'm gonna take you in closer, but my little tiny mystery sedum, the one that's purple, that everyone asks me what it is, and you guys, I wish I knew. I really did. I wish I knew. But this little cutie is coming up, and I don't want to snap off any of these little adorable buds. So this is where I'm not standing. Instead, I'm going to attack this guy. And this is my Salvia Caradona. It's one of my favorite perennials. I think it just adds a beautiful interest in the garden. And I typically leave my perennial cleanup for spring because I just like it in the garden. It helps it not feel so naked and bare. One thing I will say about Salvia Caradona though, the reason I prefer it above other salvias is because it has this kind of rock and roll black stem, and I just find it to be so much cooler than a lot of the other salvias in that family. Oh my gosh, could not be easier. And also, now I can get to all my roses. It's time to get after these roses. I cut on them pretty heavily this last season, as I said, and so I'm not going to be too aggressive this year. I'm going to leave them a little bit taller, and essentially you want to look for shape and diseased, dead, and then crossing branches. And bonus points if you prune to an outward-facing bud, but I know a lot of people who simply give it a chop straight off the top and don't really worry about that. The last thing that I like to do is I always keep the area beneath my roses pretty tidy because I'm in the Northwest and we naturally have black spot. And so I'm gonna defoliate the rose as soon as we're done and move on to the next. I do like to use a little spray isopropyl alcohol between rose bushes. And so I'll do that quickly, but honestly, I like the spray kind because it's really easy to do on the go. It's also something I really like to do for my clients to make sure that I'm treating their garden the same as mine. And this is kind of the last funky one that I'm gonna take care of. I have two choices. Well, first of all, that's dead. But then I can either keep this one, but it's coming right back through to the center of my shrub, or I can keep this one below, but it's sending a beautiful growth point out the other way. So I am gonna 86 that one and give it a nice little cut. And you're also gonna notice after years of pruning, I've got lots of nice airflow coming right down into the middle of my rose. Oh, and let's take this one back too. All right, on to the next. By the way, I'm not liking what I'm seeing here on this particular rose, so I'm gonna watch it. But if Honey Dijon does not turn around, I may yank it from the border. Friends, the sun is officially set. Brian says it's too dark to film, so I'm gonna wrap it here. I'm gonna keep going on my roses. I'm gonna hit up that front border. I may even throw in a headlamp because I'm a little bit nuts like that, but we'll have to save that wisteria for another day. By the way, wisteria full pruning notes, it's gonna be down in the description below. So if you have a beast of a wisteria on your hands, it's just like a good primer that I think is helpful for anyone. All right, friends, I'm gonna get going. I will see you in the next one. And in the meantime, say hello to your garden for me.